Hi guys, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, Crafting Up a Storm. Today I've got another video for the 5 under $5 challenge. There's more about this collaboration later in the video. Stay tuned. This month's theme is Christmas Kickoff, and I'm kicking off Christmas with some rustic, simplistic Christmas decorations. I have a gingerbread house for you today. I also have a snowflake, which happens to be one of my favorite. I have a snowman. I also have a Christmas tree from wooden blocks and a stack of presents. Stay tuned and enjoy these projects. Let's get crafting. For my first project, I picked up this really cute gingerbread light at Dollar Tree. I believe I got it last season. It's been in my stash, but a lot of times I bring items back. I started by painting the entire thing with terracotta paint, and I'm just gonna decorate it with white paint. And that makes a nice simplistic gingerbread house that will go with any decor. Now I started with a paintbrush, but I found that this little ball tool made the process a little bit easier, especially making those circles. I also used the paint, but went around with this acrylic white paint pen. I believe I picked it up on Amazon or Temu, just to make those lines sharper and more distinct. And it made it a little bit easier to do the decorations. Might have even made those spots a little easier. I did have to go over it a couple of times with a paint pen to get the coverage that I wanted. I added a little of the Dollar Tree floral pieces on the side just from a floral pick. And that was it for this little project. Let me know what you think. For this project, I picked up a square sign at Dollar Tree, and I picked up this tassel. I loved the shape of the wood piece on it. It reminded me of a snowflake, so I'm going to go with it. The first thing I did was take apart the sign and paint the back of it with the cashew chalk paint. I just want to cover up the writing. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to cover it in burlap. The next thing I did was paint the frame. I used some fern chalk paint. It's just a little shade, a different shade of green, and it doesn't make it so slick, so I could use the wax on it. I did use some white wax on the frame as well too. And then I missed recording it, but I did use a little of the antique wax on the back of the burlap just to kind of age it a bit. And I just touched the top of the tassel raised parts with that antique wax as well too. Glued it onto the frame and put a couple of wood blocks on the back to make it stand up, and this is what we have. Let me know what you think of this project. The 5 under $5 collaboration is brought to you on the 5th of every month by host Emily at FarmCharmChic. And this month's guest host is Christine DeVyneDeZynz. These are wonderful, wonderful ladies and fabulous, fabulous crafters. If you want more Christmas kickoff project ideas, click on the playlist and watch the entire playlist. All the crafters will bring you some great, inexpensive project ideas. For this project, I had a box from Dollar Tree in my stash. I painted it ivory, very similar to the same color that it already is. But I wanted to just lighten it a little bit and be able to put some of this antique wax on. I very lightly brushed this across the top and went a little heavier in the corners with the antique wax. I just wanted to kind of vintage this up a bit. I did have this stack of patriotic hats from the summertime. I'm gonna take one and use it as my snowman hat. Now the decoration on it is just paper. It comes off pretty easy with a little bit of glue dot on it. I used Goo Gone and cleaned the glue dot right off. I'm using Night Sky. It's a beautiful kind of blue gray colored chalk paint. It took several coats to go over this. This hat's kind of translucent, so I had to go on the inside and the outside. And then as I was drying it, it kind of started to wrinkle, which was great. I wanted to go for it a little bit, but I will say it happens fast. It's very light plastic, so it will wrinkle fast. I wrapped a little burlap type ribbon around it, and then I picked out some buttons from my button stash. I didn't want them all to be matchy and perfect, but I thought the shapes didn't match exactly, but the color did. So I put the buttons in the box, and now I'm gonna decorate my hat with some floral. I have pieces of a floral pick, and I'm just gonna vintage them up a lot. I want him to be very rustic and old, as if he's been a snowman around for a while. So I got some of these little floral pieces, and I used the antique wax on them, and then I did kind of cut a slit, and I will cross the bottom over on each other, and that kind of makes that leaf kind of curve and stand up really well for me. So now I put some glue on the back side, and I'm just crossing them over, and that little leaf will kind of cup a little bit, and it will work really good on my hat. I did that with all the leaves, and I even used some berry pieces and put some antique wax on them, and then a little pine cone off of another project that I had as well too. So all of this is just little bits and pieces of the florals. And I glued my snowman hat to the top, and that was it. Very minimal, rustic snowman. So for this project, I picked up some tumbling tower blocks. They're 72 in a pack, and I used a third. I believe I used 19, 20 pieces, something like that. And you may have seen this project before. I just took the blocks. I'm going to make a Christmas tree shape, but for the top of it, I want them to be a peak. But if I make them into a peak, they're not the same length. So I am going to cut just a little bit off of one, and I line them up, and then I make a mark on it. And that's how much I know I need to take off. So I use my little miter shears, and I just shear off a piece of that tumbling tower block. Once I have that off, I will sand the edges a little bit so it's not so rough. But once I put those two together, the bottom of those two together will now be the same length. So one's a little bit smaller. I put them together like that. The smaller one will go up against the longer one, and now the ends are even. So now when I take my others to line up, I'm not going to go too far in. I'm not going to go too far down. I'm just going to kind of go toward the bottom, but right about there. And I'm going to line them up. And this is the shape I'm going to come up with. So I glued them together. I actually went in and made a mark in the same place on all of them. So I knew that each of them were exactly the same length. But this is the shape I'm going to come up with, and I'm going to glue it together. And now I have it all glued together. I also sanded the bottom of it just a little bit, just to kind of smooth it out. Now I'm going to cover it with fern chalk paint, and here it is. I'm adding my antique wax, and I will say that as I painted this and then I waxed it, there were some places that did come unglued, and I just ended up gluing them back together again. I had to do that a couple of times with the side, so don't get frustrated with it. I did wrap the bottom with a little bit of twine. I glued one side, wrapped it around, and I'm gonna glue down the other side. And now here, I'm just randomly gonna take some twine and go around very loosely and tack it down around my tree. And that's how I'm going to decorate it. And I took the fuzz off with a lighter. Very carefully, I always have water available on my desk at all times, just in case. And that's my very rustic Christmas tree. What do you guys think? For my last project, I had some blocks. I think this one had something like World's Best Dad on it. The largest one did. The medium one's just one of the crafter square wooden blocks and then a dice. And I painted them all with white chalk paint. Now I'm going to use some Christmassy colors. I got out the fern, the red. I ended up having to use acrylic paint for red. My crimson was pretty dry. So I think I just used like a Christmas red or true red acrylic paint. I used some fern chalk paint and I used the night sky as well too. One block I brushed on some of the red. One block I brushed on some of the green. And on the smallest block, I used some of that midnight sky green and red all together. A little much, but it came out okay. I just wanted different colors and something, a little different design, color design on each of them. They're gonna be turned into individual little presents, so decorate them how you want. Use colored paper, however you want to decorate them. I went in with some antique wax, pretty heavy on the corners, and then pulled it into the middle and rubbed it down. Because all of my other projects are vintagey looking, I wanted these to kind of match that. Now I'm just gonna use some ribbon scraps. I have this wide burlap. I cut it in half. Well, I cut the edges off because it does have wire on it and I don't need it. And then I cut it in half to use on the large block, half of it. And then with the other piece, I cut that down as well, almost in half. And I used those pieces on the other two blocks. And now I'm going to use some floral pieces as well on the top of this. I had just leftover picks that I used on other projects. I did vintage the leaves again with that antique wax. I left some of the berries regular. I think I did put some vintage on others. Just whatever looked good. Now they can be laid on the side. They can be stacked. They can be individual. They're nice and versatile. Let me know what you think of these. I hope you all enjoyed today's crafts. As always, I love bringing inexpensive handmade craft ideas for you. If you did enjoy this, please give this video a great thumbs up and consider subscribing if not already a member of my crafty family. Have a great day.